And we are joined right now, I'm very happy to say, by John Yoo, law professor at UC Berkeley and former Bush Deputy Assistant Attorney General. Hello, sir.
Steve, happy President's Day.
Yes, happy President's Day. And it's sad that we celebrate President's Day so close to the untimely passing of Justice Scalia. And you wrote a great piece in National Review today talking about what the Senate should do. But first, your thoughts on Scalia and his legacy.
I think Scalia will take his place as one of the most influential justices in the history of our country. He really put the stake into the heart of the Warren Court and the idea that it was up to judges to discover new rights in the Constitution. He instead stood for the idea that we should always begin the task of answering any constitutional question, whether it's gay rights, abortion, the First Amendment, right to bear arms, by looking at the constitutional text closely and try to understand what did those words mean to those who drafted and ratified the Constitution, and that it was the court's job not to do what they thought was the best policy or to produce the society that had the perfect morality to it, but that it was just a limited role of interpreting that Constitution and deferring to the other branches, the Congress and the President, to make those fundamental political decisions for our society. So for that, he will be remembered. All of constitutional law and the debates we have today really orbit around Justice Scalia's fundamental insight, and even those on the left, progressives who disagree with him, still try to grapple with him instead of trying to create some newfangled theory of their own.
Now, the Republicans have said, and this is the gist of your piece at National Review, that the Senate should wait for the next president. Of course, a lot of criticism. They bring up Justice Kennedy and Reagan, who was nominated and approved in his last year, but that was after two nominees, including Justice Bork, were turned down the year before, were not approved after terrible divisive hearings. Bork, in the case of Bork, and in the case of the other nominee, he dropped out, Ginsburg. So that's not a fair analogy. Do you think that do you think that McConnell and the Republicans should go through the motions and then actually have a vote and vote down, or just not even address it?
There's nothing wrong with the Senate choosing just to delay the hearings or delay the appointment until the next president. The Appointments Clause doesn't say anything about a constitutional responsibility or duty of the Senate to vote. It actually just says the president can appoint justices with the advice and consent of the Senate. It doesn't say that the Senate has to give it in a timely manner or not. This is actually one of the tools that the framers talk about as a weapon that the Congress can use against the executive branch if it disagrees with the president. So there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, there have been times in our history, as you mentioned, the seat that Judge Bork was originally supposed to fill was actually open for quite some time because the Democrats shot down Judge Bork. Then Judge Ginsburg had resigned, and then eventually they got Justice Kennedy. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, I think that would be one way to honor Justice Scalia, because Justice Scalia cared so much about the constitutional structure, about the text. I think it would, if you want to honor Justice Scalia, don't allow President Obama to appoint someone to his seat who would stand for everything against which Justice Scalia fought. In fact, President Obama's very views about the Constitution, he seems to think about the Constitution as just an obstacle to get over on his way to some progressive paradise. Judge Justice Scalia would not want someone of President Obama's constitution to spill his seat.
I think that's pretty safe to say. I want to ask you about the debate and what Donald Trump asserted, that George W. Bush didn't keep us safe. Of course, you and George W. Bush played such a, and the administration, but you were responsible for writing many of the rules that did keep us safe, and I'll always admire you for that, and thank you for that, and I think Americans all over should. What goes through your mind when you hear Donald Trump say that George W. Bush was responsible for the towers coming down and he didn't keep us safe?
I have to say, I was very disappointed to hear Donald Trump patronize these kooky conspiracy theories, something that you would expect only from the far left fringes of the Democratic Party. I found it inexplicable. I think Jeb Bush got it right. I think he said, Donald Trump was, building a reality TV show while his brother was doing the very hard work of trying to keep our country safe during these terrible, terrible attacks. I think This is something that no president could have anticipated. It was really a question of what do you do in the aftermath. And I think the record of President Bush speaks for itself.
And I played earlier Bill Clinton in his own words saying he turned down. He could have killed Osama bin Laden, but was afraid that he would kill some civilians and didn't do it. And also that he could have taken from Sudan Osama bin Laden, but we couldn't indict him, so he didn't take him there either.
Yeah, if you wanted to turn around and say which president was responsible for letting al-Qaeda metastasize into the powerful force it was by 9/11, that's not going to be a Republican president, that's going to be a Democrat.
And that Democrat would be Bill Clinton.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, as you said, they had many opportunities to kill or capture Osama bin Laden. They passed on him for a variety of reasons.
Yeah. All right, John Yoo, thank you very much, sir. Always great to talk to you.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, up next, New Mexico Governor, former New Mexico Governor, Bill Richardson joins us, talk a little bit about the Democrats and more. Don't go away.